Welcome back. 2 days in a row. It's been a while since we did
We're spring break status.
Yep.
Gotta scoop them up while we can.
I'm surviving. I crushed my back again somehow, so I'm surviving that.
This is turning into a weekly thing.
It's just becoming a problem. It's becoming a problem.
You might have to take that next step.
What is the next step?
I don't know.
Can't be a good
Some
thing,
kind of Eastern medicine, holistic type of. I don't know.
I already do Eastern medicine, so I don't know what I'm gonna be able to do beyond that.
You're running out of options, brother.
Well, I gotta lose weight. That's the next option. More weight. So, all right. Well, we have a great guest on, former Montclair State defensive coach Scott Santora, coached at high school for a long time before he did that. Now retired coach, which means the retired coach thing is lots of fun because we let it fly. Everything is open and allowed. No restrictions. So we're going to talk to him a lot about football and winning, which when he was at Montclair State obviously did a lot of. And without further ado, let's bring on Coach Scott Santora. How you doing, Coach?
Good. How are you? I didn't know that I had to censor myself when I was coaching. So
yeah. Not much will change.
No, not much at all.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. At Montclair, you could definitely get away. Although I wonder today if that changes at all. But but I have no idea. I think at Montclair you probably still can let it fly a little bit. Coach, give everyone a little bit about your coaching background. You coached for a long time, great career. Just kind of give a little bit of background of your coaching career.
I came into Wayne Hills High School season of '91. Ray Riker, who was a fantastic track coach, you probably know him, spring track coach and winter track coach at Wayne Hills High School for years.
Yep.
He was my head high school coach for football also. He got me on with Chris Olson and the staff at Wayne Hills High School in 1990. I coached with Chris for about 6 years as a freshman assistant, did JV games and did all the scouting and stuff like that, and then came on as his defensive coordinator the last 3 years there. Went from there to William Patterson, where I was the special teams coordinator and secondary coach. And then went on from there to 6 years as a head coach at Fort Lee High School. Left Fort Lee and had gotten an offer to go back to William Patterson, actually, and called up Todd Agresta, who was a great friend of mine. I'd known Todd since high school. Todd was actually a senior at Wayne Hills when I was my first year coaching. And Todd, I called Todd up and I said, listen, he was at Montclair State. And I said, listen, before you hear through the grapevine, I got offered a job at William Patterson. He said, if you go to William Patterson, we're done. We're never talking ever again.
Sounds about right for Coach Agresta. Sounds about right.
Am I supposed to coach? I said, you don't have any openings. He says, I just got an opening today.
There you go.
So I came on, and their secondary coach had just gotten a job up in northern New Jersey as a head high school coach. And so I came on and coached the safeties my first few years there. Was lucky enough to coach great players like Derek Depascale.
Yeah.
And then he moved me to linebackers. Got a chance to coach guys like Brian Tweer and Cornell Hunt. I was told Cornell was a senior when I came over to linebackers, and the only advice I got from Todd and Coach Gene Cola was don't screw him up.
Yep, that's it.
So I kind of co-coached the linebackers with Cornell that year.
Yep. He definitely was that.
And 2010 was my last season there. Went on to coach softball with my daughters, who both played college softball. It was a fantastic experience. I miss Saturdays. I miss Saturdays, have missed Saturdays since 2010. I don't miss 7 to 7 on Sunday.
Nope.
I don't miss Monday night late meetings. I don't miss Thursday night film breakdown. I don't miss grading film after a loss, which we didn't do much of at Montclair State. But, that kind of stuff I don't miss. But I miss the Saturdays. I miss the guys. I miss the competitiveness. You struggle to find things to compete with.
Yeah.
Right.
And I had that with softball.
Right.
My daughters were ultra competitive. My oldest, Morgan, who Derek very well. She played for Coach Darren White, who's at Ramapo now.
Yep.
She was two-time first team All County catcher.
She was an animal.
And went on to play at St. Thomas Aquinas College, and now is doing graduate work up at the University of Buffalo and helped to run their physics department up there. So
yeah, she's a stud. She's a stud.
Smarty too, smarter than daddy.
Dude, she was ridiculous.
And then Gabrielle, my youngest, she played her freshman year at FDU at TNEC, and unfortunately sustained a head injury.
Yeah.
And had long-term, still suffering with long-term post-concussion syndrome.
It's crazy.
Transferred out. She's up at Boston University now, pre-med.
Yeah.
Fighting through it and doing a good job. She's become a gym rat. Hasn't picked up a glove in a while.
Right.
But,
she's trying to find that whole thing too, right?
Yeah, she's trying to find something. She wants to run a 5K. Across the George Washington Bridge in June, and Dad just dropped about 50 pounds.
Not a boy.
And trying to get back out on the road a little bit, and I may surprise her and dust her going across the bridge.
There's that competitiveness.
Because I told him, I said, "You're not going to be able to beat me ever."
Yes.
It's the way it is. I said, if I have to, I'll get a wheelchair that's fast enough. It doesn't matter. I will.
Not a boy.
So, but, that's. I coached with so many great guys, so many great coaches. Chris Olson, I can't say enough about the opportunity he gave me, all the things I learned from him. Everybody only knows the rant, the rave, the jump around, the crazy look in his eye, when things don't go the right way. But that guy taught me to take care of grades first with kids, get kids into college. We didn't do a lot of winning when I was a head football coach in Fort Lee, but I sent kids to college.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was academically and I had a couple kids that played football in college. But I sent kids to UPenn. I sent kids to RPI. I sent kids to Yale. I sent kids to some really good colleges, and it was because we stayed on top of grades. That was first and foremost the most important part of the program. We've all been around athletics for so many years. If you're lucky enough to be one of the top 4 or 5% to be able to go on and play in college, that's fantastic. But 90%, 95% of your team, even great teams, you're going to go on to college. You got to be a student, and you got to find something to do with your life.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And academics comes first.
Mm-hmm.
And that's and my own 2 kids are the prime example of growing
100%.
up under my philosophy, because school was first. I'd come home from practice at Montclair State, and Morgan would have softball practice, and I was coaching her rec softball teams back then. And I said, "Did you finish your homework?" "No, Dad, homework's not done yet." "That's fine. I'll go coach the other kids."
Yeah.
You can stay home. And mad scramble to get homework done. Academics is number one. And I don't care what parents say. My kid's a Division I athlete. Bull. Your kid's not a Division I athlete. Okay. You're lucky if your kid's a Division III athlete. All right. And there's no knock on D3. I played at East Carolina University with Vincent Smith, who's got 2 Super Bowl rings, and John Jett, who's got 2 Super Bowl rings, both from with the Cowboys. And I can tell you right now, I got hit just as hard at William Patterson as I did it at East Carolina. The difference of the game is speed, not ability.
Oh, 100%.
Not hitting, not scheme, not the dedication. I think the guys at the D3 level are more dedicated than the guys at the D1 level, because they're not getting any money.
Yeah, doing it for free.
They're trying to scramble and get money together for housing and parking and this and that and everything else. They're not getting a $500 or $700 a month stipend for housing off campus and all kinds of stuff, and getting all their books taken care of and everything.
Yeah, now it's crazy. Now it's even crazy.
And now let's not even get into the money that's being given out to college players right now, and how and the inequity of college sports now, because the top 2% are millionaires and the rest can't see it, can't get lunch money, it's the Division III athlete is a special athlete, and we had them, right, Derek? We had kids that walked into camp and said, "I deserve to start."
Yeah.
I said, "What do you mean you deserve to start?" I get all these kids that are great players, they're program players, they've been with us for years. Well, I was all state. Well, so was he, and
so was that guy, so was
he, and so was he, and he's an All-American, so
like, that guy right there just had 2 years of 100 tackles. So you tell me
Yeah.
why you should
He
start.
just broke Sam Mills's tackle record.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, which is what
Well,
Cornell did.
That's the thing that a lot of kids have to learn is when you go to college that every player is a great
Everybody
player.
was that guy.
So they're all good. It's just a matter of now are you able to compete when you're competing against other guys that are great. And that's the and you're right about the size and the the size and speed. Those are the two biggest differences at each level in 95% of the cases, right? How fast the guy runs and the measurables, other than like maybe quarterback or those that kind of a position or maybe a kicker, but outside of that, that's the big difference is the speed and I think that's also you brought up a really good point is that academics being such an important thing. Like I think parents are so caught in just first of all, you should be able to do all of that at the same time. Okay, that's one thing that people like. It's not a if and or that. It's all of it. Like that's a requirement of being an athlete. Like at the high school level, if you don't do a good job academically, chances are that you have some issues on the field. Like there's for every for every 10 guys that have bad grades, 9 of them are usually an issue, and 1 might be the guy that is a great player, still a good kid, has some sort of issue where he's learning or something like that. But 9 out of 10 are usually the guys you have to worry about, right? But with the guys that are 3-5, I would bet everything I own that 9 out of 10 of those guys are guys you don't have to worry about.
And those kids find their way on the field no matter how big, fast, small, fat, skinny that they are. Those top academic kids find their way on the field somehow. They accept a role if and they do what they have to do to get there. Just like they do in the classroom. It's calculus. I got to stay up till my oldest would during her senior year in high school. She took 5 AP classes, and she got straight A's in AP Calc, and
she probably took everyone that Saddlebrook had to offer.
Just about. And
we didn't offer that many, so
she'd stay up till 2-3 o'clock in the morning working on homework, and get up the next day and go 3 for 4 and throw 3 girls out stealing.
Yep.
And it didn't matter to her. There was no excuse.
Nope.
This is what I have to do in order to be able to compete in the classroom and on the field. And I'm going to do both of them. And, and I'll sleep till 1 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday. 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a Sunday if I have to. That's just the way it goes. And
Darren had built a great program there at softball. Because I remember when I coached with him. He was my first football coaching job. Was with Darren White.
He was coaching at Saddlebrook when I was at Fort Lee.
Okay.
It was the early 2000s.
Right. So, I think he started head coach maybe the late 90s.
Yeah,
right?
He was there a little bit before me. Because I remember I applied for the Saddlebrook job and didn't get an interview. Because I was looking for a head job.
Sounds about right.
But I think because I think they had so much like post. My senior year was they were not good, and then we were good, pretty good before that. But after that, it went off the cliff, and then basically I think Darren might have been an assistant on some of those other staffs, and then they said, hey, we need to do it. And that's when they had Fergali and Napolitano came in as the coordinators with Darren. And then I joined their staff. It must have been 2000.
He's one of the winningest football coaches in Saddlebrook history.
Oh yeah. Football. I think
that was when Glen Rock was at the top.
Yep.
And Patterson Catholic.
I think he is the winningest. He really wasn't a head coach for that long, but he definitely is the winning. He definitely is the highest winning percentage. Because Leo did very well, but Leo had up and down years, like in the front end, he had to fight through a lot. And then on the back end, when he got into retirement, it was starting to get tough, like with numbers and stuff. But in the middle, he had a ton of winning, but I think Darren he has to be the highest winning percentage of all time. And
he's close to 600 in softball now.
Softball.
Softball. My God.
We were just talking. I wonder is he because I used to talk Darren all the time, but I haven't talked Darren in a while. Like I coached his son when he was at Indian Hills.
Yeah.
Right.
And Darren coached with me actually at those few years. But I wonder if is he considered maybe like the best, like the winningest softball coach in Bergen County history, or is somebody else, or is he?
He's in the top 3 or 4.
He is okay.
When you look at public school coaches, he's
Oh God, yeah.
Oh right, because
he's one, two,
IHA
three
will have right.
You know, and obviously Joe Light over at Indian Hills
Joe Light was great,
phenomenal.
yeah,
still phenomenal. I mean, unfortunately because Indian Hills, that's the old NBIL when I was in high school and when I coached at Indian Hills. Indian Hills was always a great academic and great athletic school. And I have friends now that coach other sports at Ramapo, and the difference in the amount of kids that are going from to Indian Hills versus Ramapo, there's a huge difference, and all the athletes are unfortunately going to Ramapo.
Yep.
And the only program that wins in Indian Hills right now is the softball program. And George Hill's the baseball coach there.
Yep.
George Hill and I played college football together at William Patterson. George couldn't look for a better coach than George. He doesn't get the horses.
No, I you're 100% right. Like light is, and I think also because I think, and you coach, obviously you have daughters, so you probably could talk to this. Girls and boys are different in what they're looking for in sports programs, in my opinion. Obviously you coach, men at Montclair, and obviously your daughters, and they play for Darren. But you're 100% right. Like, I think one of the things that like Ramapo and Indian Hills is that girls are looking for a coach that they like literally
respect.
Right, exactly.
Respect, because I can tell you there was times that Gabby and Morgan didn't like Darren.
Right, respect.
Hell no.
Where boys literally will choose a lot of times because of winning. Like literally will choose for. I've noticed for that reason. I haven't been the head coach at Indian Hills. No, I saw it, and the kids. I mean, the kids are great. The kids I coach are great, and
phenomenal
kids, and they would give everything they could. But you could see it, and it was because when you meet with the youth programs and stuff, it was very interesting. But that boys, they were choosing. Hey, this is the more Gibbs was the obviously had program more established, and you were trying to change that. But it's really interesting from that standpoint. What did I'm curious. What did your daughters take? Both daughters played for Darren, or
unfortunately, Gabby only played for Darren her freshman year.
Okay,
right.
okay.
She finished at Saddlebrook, right?
She did finish at Saddlebrook under Taryn DiGiacomo.
Oh, that's right, because Darren then went to
and then and she played for a year under H.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I think
sophomore year was the COVID year. So
right.
She missed the sophomore year completely.
Oh yeah, that sucks.
And still ended up with 555 strikeouts. Just saying.
Just throwing it out there. Hey, buddy, you got to plug where you can plug. And listen, and Morgan was it, right, dude. She was the catcher. She set the tone, dude. Like it was. And I taught her when she was in 8th grade. So to watch her grow.
She's worse than I am.
Like crazy. Like
you would start
so
singing.
Dialed in, so focused.
Yeah.
Right. Just like this is what it is. And it was, look, I have a plan, right? And this is what I want to do. And I'm going to take whatever and do whatever necessary to get there. And I don't care what's going on over here, right? She was so hyper-focused and laser-focused on this is where I want to be. This is what I got to do to get there. It was like the greatest model ever.
I'm going to give you a quick story about Morgan, and you will talk about a plan. We go down to Florida freshman year for spring training, and Katie Garbarino's the senior catcher. Morgan's a freshman. Katie Garbarino, phenomenal. She's coaching with Darren at Ramapo now.
That's amazing.
Great career at Kane University, and she dove for a foul, a little pop up the third base line after she ripped her mask off and it hit the line and back spinned up, hit her in the face and broke her nose down in Florida the day before we were leaving. So last day, Morgan's catching, ball hops off the plate and hits her in her bare hand while she's trying to block it, and dislocates her finger, which she shook back into place as she was going to get the ball.
Yes.
The girl goes to try to round second and go to third, and Morgan comes up like she's going to, and I'm figuring she's going to throw this girl out. the girl started heading back to second, but she had gone too far across it. She's dead, and she doesn't throw. And she's like, Dad, my finger. So she comes at it again. We put our third catcher in. We get home from Florida. I got to take her to the doctor just to make sure it's not broken. We go to the hospital. They take an x-ray. It's not broken. They come in with a splint to go put on her finger. And she looks right at the doctor and she goes, what are you doing with that thing? She goes, I got to splint your finger. You dislocated it. It's sprained. She goes, it's softball season. I got to be able to hit. And for 2 weeks, she actually held a bat with her index finger off the bat.
Damn.
And took BP and everything, as much as it hurt every time the bat vibrated and everything.
Oh, hell yeah.
And Darren wouldn't let her swing away. He wouldn't let her swing away, kept giving her the bunt sign, And if you know anything about Darren's softball program, everybody can bunt.
Yeah,
right.
Everybody can bunt. Doesn't matter who you are. You better be able to lay down a bunt when I need it, and don't miss a sign because I'll embarrass you in front of everybody.
Yep, he ain't afraid to do that.
And so finally she went to him. She goes, Coach, I can swing. And so we finally let her start swinging away, and she started hitting and everything. But this kid wouldn't be out, She wouldn't be out. She just refused. She went from being on crutches to catching in 2 days. She just doesn't care. And now, she's
and it's like you see,
man.
and like now you talk about, right, and we see this all the time, right? Like you want a male, female. There are certain ones that get it, and certain ones that are plugged in, and they're all in, and they all say they're all in, but you like. There's only a select few that, like, even through this through the entire process of what we do, oh, coach this or oh, coach that. It's like, man, when you're doing things that I'm not watching, I'm watching, and that tells me whether or not you're going to get to that next level. Because those are those intangibles that you can't coach, right? You can instill in parenting, but they still have to take it themselves and do it. Right. And we see it all the time where, Dave coached his 8-year-old this year, first year tackle football. And the parents, it's like half of them are trying to play for their kid, yet they didn't even play at all. Right. So it's just a whole microcosm of how everything is.
And I'm not telling every kid that they got to go out and play hurt either.
No.
That's
just her prerogative.
My kid's a freaking maniac.
Right.
And I played hurt when I played, and you played hurt, and Coach Schuman, you played hurt. But there's hurt and there's injured.
I play hurt every day still.
Listen, it took me a half hour to get down the stairs.
That's right. That's right.
But I don't want somebody's mother watching this program going, I wonder he's retired. He wants all the kids to play hurt.
Yeah, right. That's why he's old school. He's that old school guy.
Well, you're managing what if obviously if it's a serious injury, that's a different
the difference
situation.
It's not Booby Miles here.
If there's an injury, right? It's right. If there's an injury and you could fight through it, and the kid's able to tolerate it, that there is a certain level of toughness.
There's a happy medium, absolutely.
Yeah. There's and I think that's like you talk football, like obviously you got to be tough to play football. The game's evolving in I don't know, some ways great, in some ways strange. I guess
it's just different.
But I'll tell you what, I don't know if you watched it at all, but the girls' NCAA stuff
that game
so phenomenal. Night. I went to UConn, so girls basketball was always obviously very good.
Right.
But now the level of the game with the girls, with Caitlin Clark and the LSU team, and then the listen, talk about a tough coach, Kim Mulkey, the LSU coach. They wrote this bash article. I don't know if you saw this. She wrote a bash article on her.
Last night
she got right up there in the press conferences and says, those girls know that I love them. Like those girls know that and if you were an outside observer looking in at the locker room and the way I'm talking, you're gonna be like, oh my God, what's going on here?
Right.
But they understand the dynamics. And that's what it
coach kids hard.
What's that?
I was told by a good friend of mine who's still coaching, and I'm not going to say any names, said, there's a difference in how we coach now.
Oh,
right.
And I turned around to him and I said, you know what? I said, then you don't have good athletes.
Right.
Yeah.
I said, because good athletes want to get coached hard.
Correct.
And if you coach kids hard and they're not receptive to it, you're not coaching them right. Derek knew that everything I told him was 100% right from the film, 100% right from the scheme, and 100% the best way for us to win as a team and for him to be successful as a player. And I could coach him hard because he knew that. The second your players don't believe that you're doing those things for them, you can't coach them hard anymore.
Nope.
That's correct.
The hardest conversation I've ever had with a player in my 20 years of coaching was with Derek Depascale. Derek was a junior. He was starting, and he was playing well. He wasn't getting us in any trouble. He wasn't blowing assignments. He was solid. He was grading out. We had a kid named Michael Ajati. Michael was a freak athlete.
Bloomfield kid.
He blocked 13 kicks in 1 year.
Yeah,
punts and extra points and field goals. Blocked 13 kicks in a year.
Freak.
And he was one of those kids that was never in the right position because he was so damn fast. He thought he could take off and run wherever he wanted and make it up. And he was one of those kids that had to realize that I'm in college now. Everybody's good.
Mm-hmm. Finally,
he started to come around. And we had a long discussion in a meeting, and we said, listen, it's time for Mike to get his shot.
Yep.
And Todd offered to talk to you, Derek. And I said, no, I got it.
Yeah, no.
And it was the hardest conversation I ever had.
A lot better coming from you, that's for sure.
Derek made it easy for me, though, because he wanted to be coached hard. And he knew that I wasn't telling him that he wasn't going to start because I didn't like him or because I was playing favorites.
It wasn't
or because
personal.
somebody's mom called me up,
right?
Or because I was worried about losing my job. All right. Things like that. I told him, I said, listen, you haven't done anything wrong. I said, but you see him, I see him. It's time for Michael to get his shot.
He earned it.
He agreed with me. And you know what the kid did? Derek went out, lost 10 pounds that offseason, got faster, got stronger, and came back in. And him and Michael started in the secondary the next year because we graduated a senior out of the secondary that year. And Derek came in, and now him and Michael were the two starting safeties the next year.
We had a lot of fun, too.
And we had a great year that year. Yeah. My first year, we were okay. My second year.
Next year was the next. My senior year.
That was the first year we won the conference. Good. I think we won the conference 3 years in a row.
We were pretty damn good. I mean, listen, and you were always just praying that they scored 24 points for us, but like, hey, that's part of my being at Montclair, dude.
If we were going to score 24 points, if we were going to score 24 points, we had to return a punt for a touchdown. And
we had to block something.
And
listen, and I played for like our defensive staff when I was there was phenomenal. Todd Agresta was there. Listen, we've had Siri on, right? Mike Siri, coach, like, come on, the Mad Dog. Like, so he's been on with us. You were there. Gavazzi, for as much as him and I butted heads, he was a phenomenal coach.
Technician.
I just didn't coach. I just wasn't a kid who got coached that way or responded to that, which is where that balance came in. And Dave, we talk about it all the time, right? With coaches about your delivery or just how it works. It's why some guys are good cops, some guys are bad cops, right? It's why you have position coaches that talk to guys and then other guys that are coordinators and just kind of do their thing. You got to find that happy medium. Yeah.
I can be bad cop.
Oh, 100%. Do the right. Listen, just do your job and there's no bad cop. Right? That's just how it works.
Right.
And that's what you were told. Listen, you just play to the level of do the best that you can, and then we'll find where you fit into the puzzle. And that was part of it. And it's really difficult now, and Dave can attest to it with the players that we have, is these guys aren't willing to play a role. Right. Or if they are, they want
to learn to play a role.
Right. It's like they just don't. It's like, hey, I'm this. I'm always going to be this. This is what I'm going to like moving forward. It's like, well, what if you should be doing this and you'll be more successful? Well, that's not what I want to do. Okay.
And you know what? We talk about academics. That swings right back into the classroom.
100%.
Right. Why don't good coaches ever have trouble in the classroom?
Mm-hmm.
Not because they yell and scream and jump up and down and scare people.
Mm-mm.
Because they're all about routine. They're all about the work. They're all about showing the kids, my students know that they're not going to outwork me.
Right.
And I when you get off the field and you're in the classroom every day and I only taught and coached in the same building for 6 years.
Right.
So
yeah, you've always been an administrator somewhere else.
I've always had to do something else, and the bills get paid in the classroom.
Yeah.
So I always had to do my job in the classroom. I always had to make sure all my I's were dotted and my T's were crossed, and I was teaching my classes and I was taking care of my students because football wasn't going to pay it.
No.
Track wasn't going to pay it. Softball wasn't going to pay it. I didn't get paid. I only got paid to coach softball twice, 2 years. 2 years I coached JV at Kennedy. but a high school softball. But other than that, it was all club and stuff like that. I didn't get paid for that stuff.
Right, of course. Well,
But
you mentioned routine. I tell you, routine is such an important thing. Like establishing what your routine is as an athlete, just like adults do in their own jobs and what they do. Like establishing a routine of what you have to do and creating consistency. Like that's a big thing that I notice that's hard for kids today versus maybe like good at. It takes them a while to understand how consistency is very important, right? Because they're pulled in. I don't know if they're pulled in directions or they just go in directions, but consistency, doing things that you need to do each day to get yourself better. I saw this now I can't remember where I saw it, but it was a video. Maybe Derek, you posted it. It might have been something you posted about basketball. In order to become a great shooter, it was like 18 minutes a day, every day.
For any, I think it's like for any discipline, if you do 18 minutes a day for 365 days, you'll become like a master of it. Whether it's, basketball, piano, just something,
Specific
any discipline.
skill.
Yeah.
Right.
Any discipline that if you're consistently 18 minutes a day, consistently for a year, like you'll be a master of it. You'll be ahead of, I think it was like 90% of people that are in that discipline.
What's so amazing about it is that it's not long, right? But it's every day, right? That's the thing. It's every day. See, most people will do it. Maybe they might do it a couple days.
Right.
Like you look at like
it's like the New Year's resolution thing,
and then
right?
exactly, and then it goes away, and then it gets back to it a month later, and it goes away. But that every day, that's the thing that I think was kind of ingrained in our generation, whereas this generation has to learn consistency, learn routine, and it may be I don't know exactly where it comes from. Society, parents, parents obviously are big, the biggest deal. Obviously, great parents who instill those things make a huge difference. And I'm a big believer in it has to be both parents. Okay, I know not that things don't happen in this world. I get it. But no matter what, both parents have to be involved in that process, because if they're not, and ideally both together, but ideally that's the ideal scenario. But no matter what, they have to both be involved, because if they're not both involved all the time in their kids' lives, that's where you start to have kids not understanding consistency. Like when you get, like you could see, like if there's a kid that doesn't understand it and having a hard time grasping routine, consistency, you could probably go to home and realize that their home life is not consistent, right? And that's a big thing. And to me, it's that's probably one of the biggest things that's changed over 20 years. And parents want the reward without consistency, right? So I want him to be a Division I athlete, whatever, without like, this is what has to get done in order to become that kind of a catcher like your daughter. She's got to go and catch thousands and thousands of balls to understand how the pitcher maneuvers the softball. If they don't catch thousands and thousands of balls, they're not going to be able to recognize the ball moving. And then,
and parents, I didn't have I'm a teacher. We all know what that's like. So I wasn't, she didn't have a catching coach. She had me, and she had Darren, who's a phenomenal catcher's coach, but she caught every single pitcher she knew at their lessons.
That's it.
The parents, the fathers and the mothers used to pick her up on the way to their daughter's pitching lesson.
So that she had lessons. So her catcher was there.
Right. And she caught, when she played club, girls needed to throw on the side. She went and caught them. If 4 girls needed to throw on the side, she caught all 4 of them. She'd catch every game on a week. She'd catch 6 games on a weekend. And then on a Wednesday night, she'd catch 5 girls doing their bullpen sessions, and that's how she got good at it. And, we did all her drill work on off days where she was throwing and she was blocking and she was hitting. And, the hardest was with Gabby, because she had a pitch, she had a field, and she had a hit.
Right.
By the time she was done pitching, she didn't want to go take ground balls at third or shag flies or spend 30 minutes in a cage, 20 minutes on the tee, because I wouldn't let her hit a live ball till she had 10 perfect swings inside, 10 perfect swings in the middle, 10 perfect swings the opposite way, and but they, they got on. And my middle daughter, my stepdaughter, she's Division I cheerleader. She cheered at Penn State. She's a level 5 tumbler. I mean, this girl flips all over the freaking world. And that doesn't just come out of nowhere either.
No.
She traveled all over the country with Central Jersey All-Stars down out of Kenilworth.
Yeah.
And my wife traveled. I swear to God, they were gone for the whole winter. They went every weekend. Plane ride to Dallas, plane ride to Florida, going to Kentucky, going to Mountain.
Here we go, Kyle. Here we go. Here, this is like, this might be like.
So it doesn't matter what the sport is. It doesn't have to be football. I mean, coach track. You coach track for all those years. I ran track at Wayne Hills and Jim Coyne, the late Jim Coyne, who was at Wayne Hills and Wayne Valley for years, was my middle distance coach. And we had a great middle distance team, 800, 400 meter kids. And we would come out. We knew if there was no meet that week, if we had more than two days off, we were doing 10 quarter workouts.
You were working.
We had a 10 quarter day coming, and we go down to the track, and it was about consistency with him. We ran the first 5 quarters under 55 and the last 5 quarters under 60. And we had 90 seconds between each quarter. And there was never a chance of him giving us one more second, and then we were running bleachers and a 2-mile cool down. And that was the way it was going to be. But we all got better. The slowest quarter miler on that team was a 51-second kid.
Oof.
And it wasn't me because I was faster than that. But
in track, you can't get good without having consistency. There's no way around it.
Each other,
kids
don't want to compete against each other because they're worried about. Well, I can't root for him because then he'll take my job.
Right.
If he takes your
and
job,
I see it.
You're not good
you see it in the locker room, like, oh, how come this school's talking to this kid and not me? And well, whatever. It's like where I don't know. I was different. Man, I was excited as hell when guys were good around me. It made me better.
I want to win.
That's it. If that guy's good, or if this guy's right behind me, he's not going to take my job, but I'm going to help him get better, right? Like, hey, man, I'm not understanding this coverage or what happens. All right, bro, you got to, when he goes here, do this, or hey, this is whatever. Like, you want to help other guys get better because then collectively as a team you just get better. I think that's a lot of something that's changed now. You really start to see it's more of these guys are very me. Mm-hmm. You have a few, but it's tough. It's really tough now to get these guys. And you're talking about football, the ultimate team game.
I think part of that too is obviously a trickle down. There's a trickle down from once you I understand why they want money at the highest level. I get it. The good players should get it. I some level of it, but there's no parameters. So when there's no parameters,
no
around
rules,
something like that, you need parameters. So there's some level of regulation. No matter what people don't want on that, you need some level of regulation, and that creates a situation where everybody understands. Like if the NFL just had open free agency, it would be chaos. So but that's what you have in college, and then you wonder why like this kid's worried, like jealous over this kid because they're no longer thinking about how good they are on the field and what they can do, and what they can contribute. That they're now thinking, I'm getting screwed because this guy's getting this money. I'm as good as him, and it's because it's so out there. They can read about it very easily on social media, and they get a wrong perception because hey, when you're young, I mean, listen, when you're 16 years old,
we felt the same way. You're salty.
Even if you know what the right thing is, you keep seeing this in your face. It's almost like you need to just hide all that stuff, until you do what you have to be able to do. But that's part of it. That trickle down, meaning like this group's getting it. No regulation. That's the biggest issue.
That's the big and different.
Absolutely.
If the NCAA sat down and said, okay, listen, here's the deal. You spend your NIL money however you want, but you're capped. Every Division I program is capped at this amount of money. If you can't raise it, we're sorry, but we're capped. You're capped at this amount of money. So now the Ohio State's still going to have have an advantage over
They're going to do what they do.
Right. You're still going to, because we're promoting back in that what we tried to get rid of in the 1980s and the 1990s. We're
the SMU.
Right.
It's legal. The old paying the salary, SMU, the greatest state of 30. Yeah.
Movie the program.
Blue
chips, right?
Blue chips.
These are the
One of the
movies that
best
came out in the
movies
80s and 90s that shot a hole in college athletics and how corrupt it was. And now we're promoting the corruption.
Yep.
So now, if you're at Ohio State, if you're in Eugene, Oregon, where Nike's going to give you money out the ass, you got an advantage over Rutgers.
Correct.
100%.
Greg Schiano, he's fighting an uphill battle right off the bat because when he goes to recruit a top kid out of Florida or out of Ohio or he wants to get a quarterback out of Pennsylvania, and the coach says, "Well, what's the NIL money look for me, coach?"
Yeah, you're like,
well, I can give you all the lunch passes you can carry.
Well, and I've been told by so one of your daughters goes to the school, another Big Ten program that Ohio State has been tasked with enough money to produce a super team because of the fact they don't want to lose any more to Michigan. So now without any like level of cap or anything like that. I mean, but they found the donors to give them.
That's all that matters.
Money.
As long as you have people that are willing to give you money.
How do you think Michigan rebuilt? Harbaugh got all those guys to come in and give money.
That's right.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And look at what was it Texas A&M?
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. I was going to reference.
The boosters actually offered a check at halftime. And the coach was like, "Yeah." Little did he know that was his buyout money. They were firing him.
He's making $70 million to sit home.
You know what I mean? The boosters came up with the buyout money so they could get rid of the coach.
Yep,
that's it.
I mean, like, come on. I understand. Listen, these kids bring millions of dollars to their universities.
That's not the issue. The kids are not.
No, they're not the issue. It's the regulation.
It's regulation and parameters.
You're still not getting. The field hockey program's still not getting a new field.
Yeah. That's like nobody like.
There's still only one trainer working with the cheerleaders at Penn State. And there's 50 cheerleaders in the program, 4 different teams, and there's only one trainer. Because they're all at football.
That's it.
And basketball, because those are the 2 sports that make money.
They're the money makers.
You know what I mean? So you're not upgrading your other sports by
exactly
doing
right. And the flip side of it too, like when I see the positive thing, for like girls with the LSU has a player that makes $1 million.
Angel Reese,
I was obviously Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin Clark was on a State Farm ad last night after the game.
Yes. She was on like 3 ads. The girl Beckers from UConn. I don't think she makes quite as much because I don't think they have as much in the NFL. But UConn has for basketball a big NIL fund. They need it for football, but they don't have that. They don't have it for football, but they have it for basketball. But that's always been that way. When I was there, it's like
that's because they got Ray Allen coming out.
It's like it's a little different. Oh, you play football, like great. Yeah. Oh, you play football, great. Where's Ray Allen? Yeah. But I mean, that's
Rebecca Lobo. She's where? Okay.
Oh yeah, it's incredible how. But that's a good side. But the good thing about that is now, okay, when you have regulations, look, if your cap is $5 million for girls basketball at Iowa, okay, yes, you might have more than Louisiana Tech, but there's a parameter because you know what the cap is, right? So if you want to pay Caitlin Clark whatever she wants. The issue, and you mentioned it with the booster. So the booster dictating everything, like,
now it's literally like blue chips. Like,
if I'm a billionaire, I want. If I'm the billionaire and I'm giving all the money, like I do want control, right? Like, who wouldn't? If I'm giving $50 million to a school, I'm gonna want some level of control. That's why you need parameters,
Right.
Brian
I don't just give
Bosworth
50
drive
million
around
and say, hey,
campus
just
in a Corvette.
do whatever with the money.
Brian Bosworth drove around campus he had 2 cars because I knew a girl that went to Oklahoma when he was there. He had a Jeep and he had a Corvette. He didn't pay for either one of them. He never put the top up on the Jeep. So when it rained, it did whatever, it didn't matter. He just wouldn't drive that when he drove the Corvette. When it was nice out, he drove the Jeep with the top off. All those expensive cowboy boots he ran around in there. He didn't pay for any of that stuff. But that stuff was frowned upon back then.
Right.
And
now
the colleges make all this money. Yeah, the colleges make all this money. And they it wasn't such a big deal till the TV started, to the TV money.
Well, I think it also.
And now you're having conferences. Pac-10's gone because the Pac-10, who actually paved the way for the first TV network, their TV network fell apart.
Right, they didn't do it right. Yep.
And the Big Ten network and the SEC network are doing so well that everybody wants to flock to those two conferences. So now it's the Big 25. And the SEC.
Might as well just turn it into two super conferences and just
the only good thing is I'm going to get to see Oregon play at Penn State.
Yeah,
right.
Buddy.
That's cool.
Because I'm a huge Ducks fan. I've always been a huge Ducks fan.
Yeah, you have.
My stepdaughter told me, she said, because they're playing at Eugene this year or this coming fall, which is Brooks' senior year. But her first year out, they're playing at Beaver Stadium, and I said we're going out, and I do a big tailgate, the whole 9 yards.
Okay.
So we're going to go out to see them playing. I said, I'm wearing my Ducks stuff. And she goes, I'm not talking to you.
Yeah.
Goes, I won't talk to you. She goes, and I'll call over every Penn State fan to try to beat you up.
Yes. Well, I mean, look, we had Adam Brenneman on a couple weeks ago, right? So big Penn State guy, still big, talking about it. And, he was just talking about how, because he was at Arizona State as a tight ends coach, right? And he talked about the entire process of how, bringing guys in and doing this and doing that. And now guys aren't asking about football stuff, right? Guys are coming in and they're asking about how much money do I get for housing? How much? And then he started talking about the cars that these guys drove up to him because he did like a little, Penn State type, had a bunch of guys up for content. These guys were driving up, right? He's like, this guy's driving up in this Escalade. This guy's driving up in this car. He's like
teaching in Northern Highlands.
He's like, we're talking $70,000, $80,000 cars. What are we doing?
It's like teaching in Northern Highlands. I pull into my Kia and park next to my students in a Porsche.
Listen, I'm at St. John Vianney, who's rolling up in a brand new Bronco, who's got a Mercedes, who's got the BMW. I'm like, what are we doing here, boys? They're like, oh, I just got my car. I said, that's your car? Oh yeah, my mom gave it to me. Mom and dad got it for me I said, what's okay.
I spent more time under my first two cars than I spent in them.
Fixing them up.
Right. No doubt about it. Trying to get them, keep them running.
I had this when I was in high school. I had this Chrysler Laser, and I beat it into the ground. And my brother took it when I went to college. My brother took it, and my brother took it to a whole other level of beating it to the ground. He had like a rope that would keep the door closed. So he would have to he would keep it closed. Eventually got a car wreck. It was okay, but it destroyed it. That was the end of it. We're like, thank goodness it's no longer able to. But he had a rope to keep the door closed, and he would tie it around. I don't know what but he would tie it around so the door would stay closed. That's
who was it? University of Utah. I think University of Utah. Yeah. University of Utah gave all their guys trucks. I think for their NIL deal. They
all got a truck.
Everybody got a truck. Like
those things. I think those things, like what Utah did. All the guys had scholarship.
Right,
got
when you make everything
I thought that was good.
Guys.
I can live with that.
Good use of NIL money. Like I think
100%.
Instead of the top 20 kids in your program getting all the money, and the other 80 don't get anything.
Right. No. Now look, I look.
I'm sure their best player still gets more, but at least they all come out. Hey, you guys got a truck. You guys got
Right. And look, and I know at Rutgers they do that for football. At Rutgers they do that for football, men's basketball, girls basketball. I believe it's like a $30,000 a year, right? Like they all get some type of collective automatic, no matter what is what it is. Look, if it's me, I don't. For me, if I was that person making that money, then dude, I'm getting all of my DBs cleats, right? Or we're all gonna have gloves, or we're gonna have I'm gonna take care of my guys, right? Like I was always curious, like, hey, these guys go out to dinner with Caleb Williams. Does he just throw the card out there, or are you guys still splitting the check? Like he's on Wendy's commercials. What are we doing?
You don't ask him how he's feeling because he's not giving up any of his medical.
No, and he's probably got fingernails painted again, so we're good.
I saw the Duke basketball player had fingernails painted too. I'm like, what is that?
Well, did you see?
I can't even fathom that part of the world. So it's like,
how much NIL money is that freshman from USC going to get? She just set the freshman scoring record.
Oh, she's unbelievable.
She's amazing.
You watch her last night? She was unbelievable.
I didn't watch the whole game, but I watched parts of it.
I watched that first
she
game.
was
Caitlin Clark looked like Steph Curry out there.
okay. Clayton Card, but this freshman from USC, she's not quite as good a shooter yet as
Every
Caitlin.
girl on
She's
USC
big
looked like
though.
they were
She's
6'2".
tall.
They were big.
Every girl on
big.
USC looked like they were 6'2".
They were
up,
big. The
I
point.
was like,
How tall is that girl
on their
walking?
back? Made them look even bigger.
Yes.
You notice that uniforms had the small numbers, makes them look even bigger.
yeah. And look, my sister scored 600 points in 2 years playing at Morris County. Like, she was a hooper. Like, and I'm talking these girls, like, it's not even close.
No.
Yeah, the girl from USC was like a new version of Cheryl Swoops. Like she looks like she might be close to 6 feet, but she could shoot from the outside. That's the difference. She can actually shoot from the outside, and she drives. Caitlin Clark, she could. You know what, Caitlin Clark? What I noticed was so good was her passing. Her passing.
Did you see? They did her stats about
her passing is unbelievable.
Listen, if you're playing on her team, all you got to do you just run, and look, you better be looking back for the ball because it's coming some way, shape, or form. So you better have hands to catch whatever it is, because look, you miss one of her passes, she's gonna let you know about it too. Yep. And I love that. She's got a little chip on her shoulder that, like, she just plays.
You gotta have some.
I mean,
if you're gonna be great,
I think the girls' tournament's been more enticing than the boys.
They're out doing them as far as ratings are concerned.
And you're talking, you have UConn has men's and women's, and NC State men's and women's. Like
UConn, little flash in New Jersey with Hurley as the coach, huh?
Oh yeah, he's
one of the best.
Looking for a repeat.
He's one of the best, man.
And he does it like old school, right? Is his brother still coaching out west?
Yeah, Arizona State.
Yeah, Arizona State.
Arizona State.
Yeah.
Listen, he took some flack the other day because his dad was sitting on the bench, I guess, for one of these games, and people were like, "Well, why is he there?" And I'm like, "Oh, because he's like the greatest basketball coach in the history of New Jersey."
Definitely the greatest.
You wanted to talk about bringing dad back, right? Greg Olson, who I love, known Greggy since he was 7 years old.
He's great.
Knew he was a stud when he was 7. Trust me, we knew he was a stud when he was 7.
He was a freak of nature,
and nothing. Taking nothing away from his other two brothers who were very good football players, but Greg was just special.
Yes.
And his son, they won some championship for football, and the defensive coordinator is the linebacker from Carolina, Kuechly. He's their defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And Chris Senior, the dad, is the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, it's like youth ball,
and it's like 12U football. You know what I mean? Like, no kidding, they're winning.
Nah,
you know what I mean?
It's incredible.
I wonder if they're still running 37 slant and 32 ISO and stuff like that, like I ran with Chris.
I wouldn't doubt it.
You know,
it's interesting though.
That was Tommy Alsasser's old offense,
right?
With Hayward, with Ironhead Hayward.
That
whole offense that Chris Olson ran and Bonadise ran at Kennedy. Frank Bonadise ran at Kennedy. That was the Passaic offense from Tommy Alsasser. You know, I had printouts from Chris that he gave me when I first started coaching with him that were literally hand drawn by Tommy. You know, and we used to go to the University of Mansfield for summer camp.
Yep.
And Tommy Alsasser was the head coach out there. And we would go out there and Steve Simonetti would come out with Northern Highlands, and we were banging heads because we were in the same conference, and we would 7-on-7 against each other all for a week and yell and scream at each other. And Chris and Steve would be arguing, and then we go out for a couple beers and a steak the last night. Both staffs would go out and hang out. But there was I wonder if they're still running that. That offense is coming back. He's starting to see fullbacks again.
Of course, because
you'll love
so
it.
much spread.
We started to talk about this, right? So because Dave was originally a running back, then a fullback, then they transitioned him to defense, right? But like it's been spread for so long now. You're starting to see like, okay, and listen, didn't we just talked about it yesterday with Matt Sakis? He's like, look, if somebody lines up in eye and power and comes right at you, like
you're in trouble.
They're not going to know what's going on.
They don't have the guys. They don't have the guys anymore.
Drills.
No.
Nobody's doing spill drills with their linebackers anymore.
No.
Nobody's teaching this. With a spread offense, you blitz the mic, you insert the safety. But when we coached at Montclair State, when you filled inside the box, You had to go do drills to learn how to play inside run too.
I had to go down there and bang with Wombo and the big boys. Like,
You
come
know?
on, dude. Like,
We
yeah,
would do an inside run period, and we brought the safeties.
we
The
always
safeties
went.
had to be a part of it.
We would
because
go because
they had to know how to
we had
defend
fit.
inside run. And there's no inside run anymore. You're
I
starting
loved
to see,
it. I loved inside run. Oh, that was
Inside-
great.
starting to
That
see the
period
On
was
NFL
great.
offense
they're
or
pulling
defense,
people a
you
lot
love?
now. You know, you're starting to see counter moves, and you're starting to see more true down O, and you're starting to see, you know, the NFL. They realize this. We can't zone everything. Defense
No.
is too athletic.
You can't get people off the ball either in the same way.
Right.
Like
You got to pull. You need
gotta pin and
angles.
pull.
Everything is an angle. Nobody can line up head to head.
I was a zone guy for a long time, and then I started to realize, like, if you just pin and pull guys, forget it. You're coming down. And you know who does it great? He meshes the spread with the power running game with multiple using a well, they call it the sniffer, but the fullback, right? Is Old Japan. He's in the gun, okay, but he is he's looking to run power, counter power, and buck sweep, but from it looks like he's running with with the fancy offset sets out of gun. So he's able to do his passing game off of it, all kinds of quick screen. That's
why he always has a running back, bro.
But he wants to cut, man. Very few guys I've seen in New Jersey use the sniffer, the fullback, like he's been using it forever, and he never wanted to go, even though he went to the spread. He was an old wing T guy because his coach, I think he played for originally with Bergen Catholic, but they maybe finished at Old Japan, and they were that way. They were wing T, and when he went to
they had Harrow and what's his name, the two track kids, because we played. I was coaching then. I coordinated against them when they were seniors. Kids were freaking phenomenal.
For the Fullers you talk about, or
no? Harrow was the one tailback.
Oh, yeah.
There were two kids, a fullback and a tailback, and one was faster than the other. And I remember they put like 50 on me when I was still coaching freshmen, and then I ended up being a DC by the time they were seniors, and we were able to shut them down. I was a wing T fullback. I played for Jerry Gallagher, the wing T. God of wing T.
Everybody played for the legend.
You know, and so when it came to stopping the wing T and reading the wing T stuff, I had it down because I knew how the offense ran.
Well, we talk about that all the time. Most times, like, being an offensive guy actually makes you a better defensive coach, right? Like for me playing defense, I mean, I can go to the other side of the ball now and look at things and be like, look, if they're going to do that, this is going to hurt them because you just know defense like that. Right. So it was always a bonus to me to be on both sides of the ball.
Today, I'd be a one back multiple for the most part with, and one of my tight ends would be a fullback.
Yeah.
He'd be my second tight end, and I could shift him into the backfield, and I could do whatever I wanted to do with him, and I would run the option. Now you don't have to triple it. You don't have to triple it. I very rarely tripled.
Nope.
But you can double option people to death.
Death.
Think about when we used to play Springfield, right? Remember how much we would rep that? I mean, we would do a whole week of spring to just, this is the package we're running against them.
And that was
and their quarterback, Chris Sharp, was a fucking
the coaching thing.
We were double buster.
The luckiest thing
all the time against option teams.
Yep.
The luckiest thing ever coaching was that I coached at Saddlebrook with Darren White's when he had Bob Napolitano as the OC, because we ran the Navy triple option.
Yeah,
and most of it was really double. It was smoke and mirrors.
You can't cut the high school level.
Yes,
that's the problem. You can't really run a true triple in high school because you can't cut block.
Yeah, no,
you got to be able to cut block.
You got to cut on the edge, right? And you can't cut on the edge. But it was. It stay once you know the option, it stays with you for and people who never coached in the option, you really have to learn the intricacies. But when you actually coach and you're seeing it, like you're seeing how he's reading everything, you're seeing how the option coaches coach the fine details of how, like, if this guy turns his shoulders this way, you're full, and how tight everything was. So, like, what Bob Napolitano did so great when he with Darren White was when we ran that midline, when that 3 technique closed, okay, the wraparound by the quarterback was so tight. It was so tight. Like he came down and it was almost off his shirt that he was wrapping. That's how tight it was. And what that allowed it to do, like learning the fine details of that, what it allowed it to do is when he got upfield, like there was no wasted movement. That quarterback, whether he was fast or slow, was already on the middle linebacker. And if he didn't make that tackle, literally those guys were banging their head in the end zone.
Yep.
Because they were on him so fast. And it was that was one of the most I say lucky because I got to see Glen Rock play us, and we had to learn to run and shoot because we had to stop it. And then I got to coach with DJ to actually see it in action.
Right.
But coaching in the triple option and seeing the run and shoot, it like changed the way I thought about football because I played in the 90s, like in the I and UConn, we were the I, and then by the time we went to the spread, I was not a spread fullback, so I was over at linebacker. So it was so interesting. But those core things, like the option that's from Bud Wilkinson back in 1950. The 50s. Like it's. I watched the whole thing on Texas and Oklahoma and Switzer and Bud Wilkinson and how those guys. And this is one of the things that we don't see as much in coaching, and they used to share with each other. So Oklahoma got so good because Texas shared with them. Right. And the guys who ran the Houston Veer, they shared with the Texas guys.
And they still went out and competed against each other.
That's and then competed of Bobby Bowden giving the Veer to Marshall.
Right.
Yep.
Marshall's after all the kids died in the plane crash.
Yep.
He gave them the Veer. He
brought him in and
taught him the Veer. And I played for Tommy DeMeo at William Patterson my first year. We were in the bone. We were in the bone. I was a wishbone fullback. And then when I started coaching with Chris at Wayne Hills, we had an option package in. And then I went to a clinic and I learned Donovan McNabb was at Syracuse. We learned the freeze option.
The freeze option
throws out of the eye.
Look, I had
that was a great scheme. That was Paul Paglione, right? Yeah, yep. Great.
We had it in at Butler. We always had options, speed option, dude. You always had a part of it.
We ran a belly. We used to run a belly out of power eye on the goal line. So we get in a power eye and everybody's like, oh, he's running ISO. He's running double ISO. He's running double ISO. I'd run a belly, and then we use the tailback as the pitch man.
Yep.
Right. Belly option down on the goal line.
Did they reverse out on that belly, or did they come down the line? Oh, yeah.
Reverse out. Don't peek at my quarterback because he'll give you a bad read every time.
Yep. That's awesome.
On everything. We reversed out on ISO. We reversed out on belly. We spun around on toss. Now guys open right up to the toss.
Oh, no, right. I love the spin.
Because
that also gave you a little and look, a lot of guys are like, oh, you don't want him to turn his back to the line of scrimmage. I don't know. I just felt like it gave me more that. And then if I wanted to fake, now I could peel back and go the other way with it.
The boot is the greatest play off of that.
Man. I love that.
Because the quarterback can see. Boot off the ISO, boot off the toss. And I had a counter. My best play package at Fort Lee was our counter package. We ran it out of every set. We ran it out of one back. We ran it out of two back. We ran it on the goal line. We ran it against 8-man front. We ran it against 10-man front because it had angles. And it didn't matter how many people you put in the box. And then when you started beating me, I screened back out of it. Mm-hmm. I'd screen back out of it. We'd run counter pass, waggle.
Waggle, yep.
And if, Craig Nielsen, one of my good friend of mine now. Craig's at Tenafly. I'm at Fort Lee my first year, and we're beating them late, and I want to keep the ball, run out the clock, and I tell my quarterback, run a counter pass, hit the fullback in the flat. It was actually 4th and 4. I thought it was 3rd and 4. Yeah, I know.
First year.
This is the story. So I call counter, and my quarterback, Cristobal, and they're playing at William Patterson. He good athlete, could boot left and throw, didn't matter. So he boots out, and my wideout busts the post corner wide open. So he just passes up a wide open fullback and bangs the post corner for 6. All I wanted was a first down. I wanted to run out the clock on offense.
Look like
if I'd known it was fourth down,
look like a great head coach.
And if I'd known it was fourth down, I would have punted. I swear to God. So the next morning, my quarterback comes in to watch film, and he's in there early, and he goes, "Coach, why did we go on fourth down?" And meanwhile, Craig yelled at me after the game, and I had no idea why. This isn't the NBIL. We don't run it up here. Blah, 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 blah. You're not with Olsen anymore, because I coached with Chris for 9 years. And I'm like, why is he mad? Well, he was third down.
Like,
it's football. Not like I beat him 42 to nothing. I think it was 27-14 or whatever was the final score. So we get into films the next morning. Nobody says anything to me. And my quarterback goes, "Coach, why did we go on fourth down?" Well, Chris, we didn't go on fourth down. Yes, we did, Coach. It was fourth down. I run the film all the way to the end. There it is. We're the home team. We're on the visitor sideline. Fourth down. I'm like, holy crap. I call Craig up right away. Holy cow, I'm so
You're
sorry.
like, dude, I had no idea.
I'm an ass. I offered to write a letter to his team to apologize.
Yeah.
And that from that point on, we were friends. But Craig came out with his ponytail. He was ready to kick my ass. Great softball coach too, by the way.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Oh, he's a softball guy too.
Yeah, he coached against Morgan and a little bit against Gabby, but he was at Mawa.
Was at where? What was that? Pascack Valley forever.
He was at Pascack Valley, and then he lived in Mawa. So when his daughter got up to the high school in Mawa, they called him and asked him if he wanted the softball job at Mawa, and he took it, and he coached his daughter, and then he held on to it, and then had a great year. His last year, they won I think they made it to the finals of the counties or the semifinals of the counties. They won their section. They won the league. They had a phenomenal year. They were really, really good. And all those girls that were on that team either played with Gabby or played with Morgan.
Right.
We had all these Mawa kids in our club that we played with the Ramapo Rage, which was out of Suffern. And all these girls either played for me with Gabby or played with Morgan with the older team.
Right. Well, we look at it too, like we have Dave, because we do we do the 7-on-7 stuff now, right? So what it is it's basically you've always had AAU basketball, right? You've always had the club traveling scene, no matter what sport it is, right? It's just that scene, man. It's.
I would still be coaching if it wasn't for club softball.
There you go.
I swear to God. Gabby ended up her time playing for Sergio Rodriguez for the Heist. Phenomenal, phenomenal program. Gets kids to college, pays attention to grades. We play a competitive schedule, but we go to Colorado every year. We go to Florida every year. We go to Massachusetts twice. So we went to Colorado.
We go to Delaware.
Yeah. So we went to Colorado that year, and Gabby and I flew out. We went to Colorado for the week. It's a $3,000 week.
Yeah.
And then there was a program, the Bergen Stars, which is a program that started here in Bergen County, where they take kids from different programs and they go travel for a week and they go see different colleges. That year we went to Tennessee.
That's cool.
So we flew from Colorado to Tennessee. I jumped in a car, drove from Tennessee, from the airport in Tennessee into Knoxville for Gabby to play another 4 days. And then we ended up playing at Volunteer Stadium. We ended up playing on campus at Tennessee, which was phenomenal. She got to pitch in the stadium, and
that's awesome.
But at the end of that summer, I looked at my credit card bill and I said, "Holy crap! How am I ever going to pay this off?" That winter, I started working a second job, and I haven't stopped since. Because
Coach, you've always been you've always hustled like that. I can remember being on the field for warm-ups and you having to run just because you were just getting there to get to practice and shit. I mean, you guys, Dave, listen, I try to tell Dave, we made more money coaching high school football than you guys did coaching Montclair. And
$5,500 was the most I ever made at Montclair State.
What was it?
$5,500.
Yeah, Dave.
And that was my last 2 years. And I was the safeties coach. I was the video coordinator for Montclair State. Insane. and I was the video liaison for the entire New Jersey Athletic Conference.
The entire NJAC. I remember
because
that.
we started trading film online that when I was coaching there. There was no more getting guys out on the road on a Sunday morning.
No, hey, I'll meet you at this bar.
So and back then everybody there was no huddle back then. Everybody had their own different video formats.
Correct.
So we had to have a central docking station, a separate service where everybody could upload their film.
Right.
And the company knew that we were using Apex. So we had to download in the Apex format. So if you were using something different, you would convert it to Apex for us, and then we could download it. But you had to download it in real time.
Yeah, so it took, Dave, this stuff took
a laced game is almost 5 hours with special.
These guys used to come off the field. We wouldn't even be in the showers yet. And these guys would be like, we got to upload the film, because they needed to wait the full, game time for it to finish for them to get to work. Yep. So they used to just stay from our Saturday night, sleep in the office, be prepared, and then we would come, we didn't even come in on Sundays when I was there.
No, Coach O would be over my shoulder in the morning. When's my film going to be ready?
Yes.
When's my film going to be ready? Coach, I got it. Coach, I'd come in the morning. I'd burn the DVDs at home because I had little kids. My kids were young.
Yeah, they were mowing them. Were young.
The 10-to-1 DVD burners.
So
remember those?
I would come home. Yeah, we had the three burner. We were big time. Yeah. But I would go home and I would hook the end zone up to one computer and the sideline up to the other computer, and I would upload the film to the computer. Yep. Then I had to take the file, transfer it over, and I had to lace it.
Yep.
And I had to make sure that both my cameramen were on point and make sure that things were laced up right. So I'd have to kind of peruse the film.
The shit they did with film was insane. We were so ahead of the curve.
We had to mark it, offense, defense, special teams. Then once I was happy with that, then I could divide it based into, it was offense, defense, special teams.
It was
crazy. Divided into 3 parts. Then I had to burn it, and I have a special burner program because the DVDs were about 8 gig, but a regular DVD is not that big. So I had to have a compression program to compress it and put it on a single DVD. So then I'd have that done. In the morning, I'd come. If I had a good morning, both my computers had spit the DVDs out. They had burned and they had spit out of my computers. Otherwise, I was like, oh my God, what happened? And then I'd run into the office and start running copies for everybody so we could start breaking down film.
It was the amount of work they had to do compared to now these guys we don't even break it down. We send it out and Huddle breaks it down for you.
Of course.
Send it back. And it's here you go.
I would love to have Huddle. I wouldn't know what to do. I would watch so much film.
That's what I used to say. I said because
you can watch so much. You know what? The tendencies you get immediately too.
I was only good because I watched so much film, right? I used to watch so much film. I just can't even imagine having that thing on my phone. Are you kidding me? I wouldn't have done anything all day. I would have just been watching film all day.
I'll tell you, that's
and then I look at some of these kids and it's oh, you got 5 minutes this week, dude? Really?
That's why we were so good on defense at Montclair. Because we used Apex and it had all the tendencies.
Yeah, everything.
So I wanted to know when you're in 2 tights and in third and less than 5 in 22 personnel.
Yep.
On the left hash, how many times are you running to the boundary?
It was crazy. And I used to love it. That's where it was pre-analytics, Dave. You know what I'm saying? That was all.
Well, now the analytics are crazy.
But now, I used to love getting
too much.
Yeah.
Coach.
Well, they try to predict you. They try to predict for you what would be your best play in the situation. Huddle will do that now. It'll basically want to predict for you. This will be your best play.
They're going to tell you what you're running.
Well, that's what we used to have to make up our minds based on tendencies. And believe it or not, this is the hugest question we had every week. Are we going to defend these guys by formation,
right,
or by down and distance?
Yep.
Where they become more predictable to us, for what we want to run, and it evolved over time. That when I first got there, we were probably 90% down in distance.
Absolutely.
And then as people got more and more out of 2-back into 1-back, and they got more and more into spread. We were now it was based on formation because now people tipped with personnel.
Yep.
Correct.
You know, so now you could, you know, you had all these different tendencies that were based on formation. So now personnel had to be right, and there was two different kinds of 21 personnel, and there was two different kinds of, you know, 01 personnel, depending on who was on the field. And with those guys on the field, this is what we were getting. With those guys on the field, we were getting this. And Derek will tell you, we evolved. You know, after Derek graduated, our number one defense was a defense we called penny. Basically,
that's when they started going nickel.
We took our Sam linebacker out.
It was DBs all over the place, and now, you know, it was
people would put strength to the field and force you to walk your Sam out into space. And the Sam linebacker he was caught between a shit and a fart, because was it play action or was it run? You know, and he was caught out in space against kids that he didn't match up well against athletically. So you put an extra safety in the game. So we took our Sam out, and we basically became a two linebacker set.
Yeah, you're basically a nickel package all day.
And the safety would remove himself out of the box, and we play boundary defense.
Yep.
Always. So now, if you want to give me strength into the boundary, fine, give me strength into the boundary, because you don't have space to work there.
Yep. That's why the hash marks are such a big deal, college to pro.
And I take guys like when Brian Tweer played with Cornell inside, I put Brian as the Willie.
Yep.
And Brian's like, well, I got twins out here to the boundary. I'm like, Brian, you're into the boundary. Get your butt in the box.
Yep.
You can play the hook curl from where you're at. I need you to play run.
Right.
And I need you to be able to clean up front side run, because they can't account for you in the box. They're expecting you to be walked out.
Yep.
And we put Brian, and he had some hits on
crushing people
on zone plays.
Yeah, because they're not expecting him to be in the box.
Terrorize
him to be removed. So he's the extra guy.
But that penny defense was our 4-3. But that safety was our Sam.
Yep.
You know, he was our.
And now you look at defenses now, like Dave and I see it all the time too. It's like, you know, because of everybody in spread, you're not seeing like a true three linebacker sets anymore. Like you're not seeing linebackers on the field. You're seeing now linebackers have become DNs, and DNs have gotten bigger and moved inside. And then now your safeties have just become your outside backers. And it's basically, you're looking at it and there's like, okay, DBs all over the place. Everybody's
Jimmy Johnson defense all over again.
100%.
Yep.
Jimmy Johnson was in Miami, was all speed.
That's it.
Safeties became linebackers became ends became tackles.
Everybody's just got to run. And that was always, we always were preached, like, look, you run to the ball. Like, we were always good at running. Like, we could run to the ball. Yeah. You know, and our D-line,
that was the chess match. That was the chess match, as always, is, okay, you bring all the speed guys on, and then if you're in spread, you're in trouble. You got to go more two back and come power against those. That was when Jimmy Johnson was doing that and dominating, and then Derek Erickson did it after him.
Yeah, Dennis Erickson. He was
Dennis Erickson.
Too.
But when Tommy Frazier in Nebraska came downhill against those kind of defenses, then you started to see people like get more multiple, because they scored like 50 points in that game. They were just coming downhill. They were using, I remember the guy's name was like Scherzinger, the fullback, or some Schlesinger. Yeah. And they were using the fullback as much as anybody. And so it's so interesting that, like, in football, that's what makes football to me so great, is that over all the years, the continuous chess match between offense and defense. Okay, you're physically beating us up. We're going to get more small, fast guys on the field. And then, okay, you have more small, fast guys on the field. We'll match you with that defensively. And now I'm going to go and come downhill. And
it's a matchup game.
We talked about, like, you really see almost two, in high school at least, two distinctly different types of offenses succeed. The wing T, okay, and then the wide open spread, no huddle, right? Two completely different offenses, and they're both having great success, but it's based off of, like, what your matchup is. And if you get a situation where they've got a bunch of little guys on the field and you're running wing T and you're able to come downhill, they're in trouble.
Yeah.
And if you're facing a team with a bunch of guys wearing neck rolls out there covering you, and you got a spread team, that team's in trouble, right? So it's so that's what makes football so amazing is that chess match. Although the rules now at the NFL, I'm curious to see if those things continue to trickle down, like the hip drop and stuff like that.
You got to try to trip people.
Kickoff return.
I know.
Try to trip people. It's just there's no tackling. I would absolutely love to be a running back again. You can't grab me by the horse collar. You can't grab me around the waist from behind. You got.
And nobody's squaring up, head up.
No.
Well, you can lower your shoulder and they can't. Right. So,
and you can jump over me too.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't jumping over anybody unless somebody was laying underground.
I was trying to give you a little love, Coach.
You talk about speed defenses with Jimmy Johnson when he was at Miami. He did the same thing at Dallas. I mentioned a kid earlier that I played with at East Carolina, a guy by the name of Vincent Smith. Vince was an inside linebacker. He was a legit 4.4. I mean, he was no joke, but he was only 215. They probably listed him at 220, 225. He was maybe 218 soaking wet. And Vince had trouble finding a place to be until Jimmy wanted speed in Dallas.
He was like a rare, linebackers weren't fast. I don't think Mike Singletary ran a 4.4.
No. But Vince could light you up, and he was fast. And he won 2 Super Bowl rings with Dallas. And when Wannstedt went to the Bears, they left. They used to have the Rule 5 guys they used to leave unprotected.
Right.
Yes.
He brought Vincent Smith to the Bears with him. And I remember talking to Wannstedt at the old Northeast clinics. He was the keynote the one year, and he was telling great Jimmy Johnson stories about when they were in Miami, when they lost to Notre Dame. They should have repeated as national champs, and they lost to Notre Dame when Jimmy went for 2. And Dave was up in the box yelling, no, Jimmy, no. And Jimmy's going, he don't think I got the guts. Because Holtz had taken his job at Arkansas. So they didn't like each other. But I was talking with Wannstedt, and we were talking about Vincent Smith, and he was like, listen, he's just a rare kid. He's so fast. And he's when I went to the Bears, we needed help on defense. When he became available, I took him from Dallas with me, but he was the same way. He was that speed defense, get after people. Don't give people a chance. Look at what Belichick's done. What Belichick did for years against Peyton Manning's teams. He got up in your face, made it hard for you to get off the line of scrimmage, and brought the heat.
That's what you have.
If you got the dogs to match up outside, 100%. And you can get up in people's face and not let them get off the ball, and you can bring heat inside, you can beat anybody. But you got to have those dogs outside.
Yep.
But then you run into the problem, like you're saying, Coach. Now people start going downhill at you, and that's where a guy like Edgerrin James was so good for a guy like Peyton Manning, because he could run downhill.
Yes.
They didn't run him enough. They probably
optimally you're going to have optimally, which I guess the NFL really kind of does have. You got to have both personnel on offense, meaning the personnel. That's the shifting thing I see at the college, and the personnel to be able to do all the things you want to do. Meaning, you could be in 2-back power, and then the very next play be empty, and
which is why you look at the 49ers, right? And why are they so successful? Because Debo Samuel can do a bunch of things. Christian McCaffrey can do a bunch of things. The fullback, H-back, what's his name? Whose wife is making clothes for
Jursic
I don't know. She's a smoke show, so thumbs up for him. But she's he does extra things, right? Which is why you can now get away with a Brock Purdy, who's a game manager, just by spreading the ball around, doing these other things, because now you're in these different packages offensively. Well, shit, I got to have matched the personnel on defense, which is why you see defenses now packaging things, right? And it's a lot of guys playing. That's kind of what we've looked at. That's how you can get more guys on the field. I'm going to run a different set. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I mean, we've talked about that, player retention now, especially if you're a college coach. I mean, look, I'm going to develop somebody for 2 years, and now he's going to bounce and go somewhere else. I'm going to be pissed. But That's what it is.
That's why you're always looking for his replacement. You're always recruiting his replacement.
And that's what I really try to explain to these guys. Like, even the guys in high school, right? Because I was at a private school, and this guy's coming. Why is he bringing in this guy? Why is he bringing? I said, dude, I love you to death, and you're like the best player on this team. But I'm recruiting the guy to take your job every day, because putting food on my table for my daughter depends on you playing a game really well. Like, yeah, I got to find other guys, because it's not always going to be this way. And that's how college is. And a lot of these guys don't get that, right? Like,
it raises the bar too. It raises everybody's level.
Gotta play better, man. Let's go.
Competition Tuesdays.
Competition. I mean, we competed every day at Montclair. I fought
competition Tuesday, turnover Wednesday. We used to count turnovers on Wednesdays. If we didn't get a certain amount of turnovers, it was a bad day.
It was a bad day. But you went and banged with the ones, right? Like, we would do live blitz period every freaking Wednesday. And until
we got after the quarterback, and then Coach G would say, no more.
Then, okay, we're done. This set's over. Go. And then we'd have 20 minutes of special teams in the middle of practice. Then we'd have another 20 minutes after another set. I mean, Dave, I was Montclair State was 3-hour practices, bro. That's what it was. That's what you did. It's just how it was. You broke it up, and it was that, and it worked. I know that was one of the first things the laws changed. That's for sure.
Yeah, by the time we were done, we couldn't even have 2 days.
No.
Yeah, you had a 2-day every other. You had to supplement your 2-a-days on your 1-a-days with walkthroughs.
Yes.
And you had to have a minimum of 3 hours off the field between every practice, and that was including meetings. So you couldn't bring them off the field and say, okay, your 3-hour break is going to spend an hour and a half in a meeting. They had to have a 3-hour break, no football. So we go from practice, and then it was lunch, and then we bring them back for a walkthrough, and then we'd have to give them another break, and then we'd have meetings, and then we'd give them dinner, and then we'd have night meetings.
Yep.
And that was our single day practice. When we had 2-a-days, we only got one meeting. We only got the night meetings because you couldn't meet in between. You had to give them time off.
Right.
And you couldn't.
Remember, I told you, Dave,
couldn't hit both of those practices either.
I love.
You couldn't hit both of the doubles in the doubles.
Nope.
Couldn't hit both. You only hit one of them. And I think
and look, we talk about that all the time.
Oh yeah, well, tackling has suffered because
we
of
talked
all that.
about that. The lack of tackling.
You almost have to be a great athlete now to play defense, because your tackling is going to suffer. So your body positioning is not always going to be as good as it normally has to be. So you almost have to be a great athlete just to get guys down because you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do that, you're not allowed to do, like the old guy the player who plugged and was just a hitter. There's almost no place for there's a I can't remember. I haven't watched it yet, but there's a thing, a documentary about the end of the strong safety. The last, it was about the guy from Dallas who was a great strong safety. I can't remember the name now. I can't believe I'm a Dallas fan. I can't remember the name, but it's a whole thing about the end of the strong safety, because the strong safety was such a hitter. That was really the role in the NFL.
John Lynch gone.
Yes, that and they call it the end of the strong safety.
Ronnie Lott gone.
They changed that role so much because of what you cannot do.
Adam Archuleta.
Basically a job, just like the fullback for the most part. The fullback's coming back. I saw the Ravens, right? The Ravens used that 300-pound guy. I can't believe
they're either using a 3-tech or an athletic, like, bigger plugger.
Well, the guy's 300 pounds and he can catch and he runs like.
I'll tell you who I thought should have been a freaking
or something.
The dude played for NC State. What's his name? Burns. That guy should be on the D line for NC State, not playing hoops.
The center, you mean? The center?
Yeah, Burns.
He's a big boy. He's
a
big guy.
Soft hands too. Soft hands.
And he just out there bagging with his green shoes,
Texas Tech
smiling
like that
happy-go-lucky, like, damn.
There was a kid from Texas Tech, I think it was, early in the tournament like that too. He was a monster. He's this big physical kid. Dude, you are on the wrong gym.
Right. I'm like, buddy, hey, bud, you should be over like.
I can see if he doesn't work out in the NBA, I could see someone bringing him into like a camp and trying to get him to do something.
just go through some drills, dude. Let's see what you got.
See if you're tough enough, to handle it. But
yeah,
Coach, it's been great having you on. First of all, as a fellow Saddlebrook guy, that there's nothing better than that. So,
Right.
But second of all, you broke our record. So Derek can't see this, but I could see it on my end. Continuous viewers at a time. He reached. Coach reached as high 543 was our highest, which is over 150 more than anybody else that has had continuous view. So now your second career is going to have to be in media.
Here we go. I'm ready. I'm ready to go. Bring me back anytime.
That's what I'm talking about.
The numbers kept going up and up. I'm like, wow, people are really finding this entertaining. It kept going up and up and up. And you know how the internet is. If they don't find it entertaining, you see your numbers go down and down and down. But if they find it entertaining, it keeps going up and up and up because they just share it. They share it. They share it with somebody else, and
Love it.
So that's pretty cool. I want to thank you for coming on. The stories were phenomenal stories, and you fit right in with I always say Derek says it too. Like, we have all these football guys on, but we talk very little football. We talk a lot about a lot of other things too. Just enough football sprinkled in, but it was great having you on.
Yeah,
I appreciate it, guys. Good luck with everything. Great. This is a great format. I love this. Good luck with your seasons coming up and everything too. Derek, shoot me a schedule. Maybe I can make a game.
Hey, buddy, I appreciate you all the time. You know what I mean? I really do. Everything, just from playing and everything that we've, a lot of guys don't understand the relationship that you develop at that level, especially when it's, oh, he's the DB coach. Like, no, I had a safeties coach. Like, this guy watched my pudgy ass for 3 years to make sure I got done what I got done. Don't worry. Coach Siri shared my nickname, right? He was like,
I didn't bring it up.
Called him Dumpy.
I didn't even bring it up. I kept this secret.
I know. It's not a secret. Hey, I own it. I let it fly. These guys just shit.
That's how Morgan knew you.
Right? Part of the game. They don't understand. But like I said, Coach, I really appreciate you. Everything you've done. Like I said, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time. We'll talk soon.
All right. Guys,
thank you very much.
See you later, Coach.
Take care. Bye.
That was great, dude. That was a great podcast, man. I mean, it's so entertaining. Like I said, like it's still going up now at 550. It's incredible. I think it's Twitter is like the biggest, right?
Because they see it, they just click, and now hey, we're talking about, and they don't know what's coming next, right? It's not like
you're right.
Format to be like they're going to talk about this at this time, so everybody's like, what's coming? They don't know. So
right, we move topics so much that
dude, we just roll with it. Like, you just got a whole tutorial on girls softball and all that other kind of lifestyle.
Well, I find any sports, anything about it.
And like I said, Coach was in such a different situation, right? Having been at Wayne Hills, where you're highly successful. Then he goes to Fort Lee, who, like, when have you ever heard of Fort Lee being whatever? And then he gets to come to us, and he was only in like a safeties role to start, right? And then obviously, like, I mean, it's one of the most underrated things. Like, dude, the stuff that he used to do with video, Dave, it was insanity. Like, it was huddle before huddle, all the cut ups, all that stuff. And then he did it for the entire NJAC. Like, every team.
That's incredible.
Like, and they were ahead of the curve, right? Because now everybody just pulls everything, and you can pull from here and do this or do that. Like, these guys were doing that back in 2006.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
It's crazy.
Amazing stuff. All right, great podcast. We'll end it out here.